Hey guys, I'm back with another relationship video because I heard that some of you guys are in long distance relationships. Yes, that's what I heard. So I got a really interesting question about how to make it. Of course, I make a lot of Scorpio videos, and a lady, she wrote me a really long email about how she can make it work with her Scorpio. And I actually replied to her. I took the time, I replied to her, and she actually didn't reply to me. And I was like, wow, okay, I guess I better make a video. So lady, if you're watching, yoga lady, this video is for you. So the dating ocean is much larger than we previously thought, and some people are thriving and other people not so much. Just because you met somebody online doesn't mean you're gonna have a long distance relationship. This video specifically is about long distance relationships and which signs are better at long distance relationships, which ones are gonna have the absolute worst times. But in order to get the most out of this video, I highly recommend that you look at your partner's chart on the whole. Don't just look at their sun sign or just their moon sign or just their Venus sign. Look at everything. Look at the sign that is most dominant for them. Look at the house that is most dominant for them. Obviously, this is going to be easier if your partner has a stellium. That just makes everything more succinct. But if they're spread about, you're going to have to do your best. So watch for all of the signs of their moon, of their Venus, of their seventh house, and even their sun sign a little bit sometimes. The sun is not the most important thing when it comes to romantic compatibility. In my opinion, it's the moon, the Venus, and the seventh house. But you have to look at everything. You could also look at what element is most dominant for them. It is a very nuanced thing, astrology, especially relationship astrology. And of course, if you don't remember what planets to look for, I will leave more detailed instructions in the description of this video because I think it's really useful for people who are having, I read so many comments about people in long distance relationships, and a lot of times I see exactly what's going on and I feel bad for them, and I'm just like, I wish somebody would just tell you. So this is me just telling you guys what's going on astrologically. So if your person, or if you yourself are an Aries and you find yourself, God bless you, Aries person, if you found yourself in a long distance relationship, God bless you, because Aries people have the least patience for long distance relationships. Why? Because Aries people, they're very passionate, they're very physical, they're very impatient. They cannot wait. Everything that is not already happened is already too late for them. They wanted to be together with you yesterday. So today is already too late. Tomorrow is a forever time away, right? So my biggest advice for if you are an Aries person meeting people online is you have to meet quickly, because you need to know if the connection is real. And for Aries people, the connection is very physical. They will not know how they feel about somebody sometimes until they're around them physically. They, as I said, they're ruled by Mars, so they're a very physical presence sort of sign. And not only that, they also tend to lose interest if they cannot move things along quickly. These are the people. I'm not saying that as human beings, we should rush into things. We probably should not. We should take our time, right? But if you're a super heavily Aries person, you cannot help it. So if you can move some parts of the relationship along more quickly, then you absolutely should. I'm not saying like go visit the person and marry them upon first meeting them. No, I'm not saying go and, sleep with them on the first night. You probably shouldn't do that. I don't recommend that to anybody. But maybe just like go and have some ice cream with them and see if like things are actually vibing, right away. And another thing, if you met a super Aries person online and they're not trying to meet you really quickly, they probably don't like you. But I will say, Aries people don't play a lot of games. You know exactly where you stand with an Aries person. If it's not a hell yes, it's a no. I always say this when it comes to Aries and Mars ruled people, but Aries does not play any games. If they like you, they like you, and they fall in love with the eyes. Aries people are very much like, they like how somebody looks, they're going to move towards that person. That's just how it works for Aries people. And if for whatever reason you are an Aries and you find yourself in the long distance relationship, find a way of making it physical. Find a way of, through the distance, making it physical, because that is just how Aries people are. You just have to express that side of who you are. And if you don't get to, you will lose interest and you will lose the connection. Because for Aries people, look, we all love how we love. This is, love is patient, love is kind. Love is however it is that you are. We cannot force ourselves to be in a different way. So even though Aries people, yes, Aries people could learn a lot from like Libra, from Capricorn. They could learn to take their time and to make more careful approaches or have more careful and thought out relationships. Yes, they absolutely can, but they need to be true to themselves. They need to be authentic to who it is that they are. So make it physical, make it move along quickly, at least when it comes to meeting each other. And even if you do have to stay online for a while, long distance, find a way of making it physical. They need to see you. They need to see you. If they do not see you, if you're not there, out of sight, out of mind, and they'll lose interest. I'm going to say it's pretty hard for Taurus as well, because again, Aries is like passionately physical and Taurus is more like sensually physical. And I know that those are not very different things, but Taurus people have the whole object permanence thing. They need to be able to secure their things. And if they don't feel like they could see where you are and see what you're doing and see what's going on with you, then it's more difficult for them to feel secure. And for Taurus people, it's all about security and knowing that they're investing their time in something that is going to stick around for a while. They do not like squandering their efforts. And, Taurus people, they do a lot. They spend a lot of money when it comes to their relationships. And if they cannot assure that wherever it is that their money is going, that's going to be, for them, for keeps, then they don't really want to do that. They'll lose interest in that. So for Taurus people, they're not the best for long distance relationships. Another reason why they're not excellent at long distance relationships is because Taurus people don't talk a lot. They are more like a calm presence in your life. If you want a cuddle buddy, somebody who's always just there by your side, a companion, that is Taurus. Tauruses are excellent at relationships. In my opinion, they're ruled by Venus, but they're more like a physical presence. They're not going to be talking your ear off unless they have Gemini in their chart, which if your sun is in Taurus, you do tend to have sometimes some Gemini planets in there. Taurus Gemini people are my favorite people and very attractive. And so that would be a good Taurus to date in the long distance sort of way, because the Gemini will help with communication. But otherwise, the Taurus is really going to struggle when it comes to distance. They need to be able to see the person that they're with and to feel like that person belongs to them, because that is just how Taurus people operate. They are very much driven by possessing things. Geminis shine at long distance relationships. Not that they're gonna, let's be real, let's be super real. Geminis have a lot of attention span, right? So they could pay attention to a lot of things. And this is like a random rant that I'm going on here, but if you are in a long distance relationship with a Gemini, or let's just say that you're interested in a Gemini and it's long distance, sometimes just because they're talking to you a lot doesn't mean that they like you a lot. They just like to talk. And I've had clients and I've had friends in the past that have had interest in Gemini guys or gals, and I'll just be like, that person doesn't like you. They're just talking to you, because Geminis love to talk. They love to have somebody to talk to. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're interested in you. That was just like a side rant, okay? Just in case anybody needed to know that. If you're wondering about that Gemini, just because they talk to you doesn't mean they like you. Okay. But now if you're actually in a long distance relationship with a Gemini, they're actually really good because they are very communicative. And so they like to stay connected, especially when you're talking about Venus, the moon, the seventh house in Gemini. They're going to try to stay connected with you through texting, through emailing, just calling, FaceTiming, whatever it is. They're very much in that communicative realm. So it's not going to take much for you to like dig the communication out of them. That is just what comes naturally. And in my opinion, when it comes to compatibility and things of that nature, whether two things kind of match or not, it really has to do with what comes naturally to you. Because yeah, we all have Mercuries, we all can talk. But if your Mercury is buried, like if you have like a Taurus Mercury in the 12th house, are you really going to want to express yourself? Probably not. You're probably going to want to be like peaceful and to yourself. So it really depends on what comes naturally to you. And not only that, but sometimes, when somebody likes you, they'll go the extra mile for you and they'll put themselves out of their way. But in my opinion, it's better sometimes to just go with whatever is natural to you, because that way the relationship is not going to be so much effort. The most important thing when it comes to dating a Gemini is to stimulate their mind. Their mind is the most important erogenous zone for them. And if you cannot connect with them intellectually, they're just not like, it's not going to be full, it's not going to be super potent of a connection. So find a way. And as I said, if it comes naturally to you to be very communicative, to be intellectual, to have these types of conversations, then this is going to be the best match. Moving on to Cancer or the fourth house. If your partner has planets here, or if their seventh house is in Cancer, then the most important thing is to, first of all, you have to stay connected with them, because you have to keep in mind that Cancer people are people who like to be very close. And so if you are more of an aloof, sort of detached kind of person, you're more independent, it's going to be more difficult for you to easily make things work in, especially in the long distance with a Cancer, because Cancers like to always feel connected, and you need to like temperature check. You need to see like, how close are we feeling right now? Do I need like, you know, when those moms have their babies on a leash and they're just kind of like walking with the baby on the leash, you need to pull that leash and see how far away that baby is. So if that baby's too far, you need to pull that baby closer to you. And that is an important process that needs to take place on a regular basis, like every single day. You need to check in and see how close the people are feeling. And this isn't as true when you're physically in contact with them, because Cancer can just, you know, you're there, you're together. But in a long distance sort of situation, you absolutely need to make sure that that tether is close, guys, because Cancer can, sometimes they could struggle to express their feelings. It depends where the Cancer is located. They might not be able to tell you how they're feeling, but they're going to be feeling the distance, and they're going to get cranky. And they're like, you're going to know that they're feeling some type of way, especially if you're intuitive or if you're watery. You're going to know they're feeling some type of way because they are very moody, but you're not going to understand if you're a very aloof sort of person. So make sure that you're checking the vibes. You have a way of checking that tether to see how far or how close you are from that person. Another thing when it comes to fourth house people or Cancers is that you need to be ready to be vulnerable with them, to talk to them about your feelings. And this is true if you're a man or a woman or gay or straight or whatever it is that you are, whatever your preferences are. Cancer people, especially when we're talking about the receptive planets like Venus or the moon, or as I keep saying, the seventh house, you need to make sure that you're sharing vulnerability moments with them, because this is their currency. This is like not even their currency. This is their food. They live for this shit. This is what they eat. This is how they operate. And if you are not giving them this, they're not going to be having a good time. They might not even be interested in you if you're not able to give them that. Or if they still love you regardless, they're going to dig and dig and dig for it. Why are you going to make them dig like that? Just give it to them. This is what makes them happy. And for the signs that struggle with vulnerability, like Leo, Sagittarius, Scorpio, Capricorn, like I see you. Like, okay, Scorpio can hang in there, right? Not that Scorpio wants to expose this, but like they're a water sign. They'll play, you know, but Capricorn, Sagittarius, and Aquarius and Leo, they're just not going to have a good time with this. So if you love your Cancer and you're in a long distance relationship and you happen to be a Sag, a Capricorn, a Leo, or an Aquarius, then decide what is more important. Is it more important for you to maintain this relationship? Do you love this person? Do you want them to feel secure and close to you? Or do you want to be cool? I mean, some of us want to be cool. I get it. I also want to be cool. But, you know, sometimes you got to see what is more important. You know, you got to have priorities, guys. You got to have priorities. Okay, so if you're dating a Leo in a long distance sort of situation, Leo sun, moon, rising, Venus, seventh house Leo, sun in the seventh house, you need to be their number one fan. You need to be their number one fan, and they need to know that you are their number one fan. You need to give them compliments. They need to hear the compliments. I know that it seems like a superficial thing, but this is their love language. This is what they love. Leos, sometimes they don't necessarily give compliments, but they do like to receive compliments, and they are very loving. So they will pay you back. They're also very generous. So if you are loving on a Leo, they're gonna pay you back some way, because they are very generous, and they're also very loyal to the people that they love. So, you know, it's like a win-win sort of situation. And obviously, you know this about Leos, but you need to give them gifts. They love gifts. They love praise, especially when it comes, like, they love praise, like, as I said, with the compliments. And you need to see what it is that they're good at. You need to like praise their efforts, because trust me, they're trying hard. And so you need to see those things that they're trying hard at. They need to know that you see them. It's very important for Leos to be seen, and to be seen as number one. Being number one is the most important thing to Leos, and you need to communicate to them that you see that, especially you're at a distance. So you need to comment on that picture. You need to congratulate them on their graduation. Why did I say it like that? I don't know. You need to congratulate them on the things that they're accomplishing, because if they're Leos, they're out there accomplishing things all the time. So make sure you praise them for those things. Moving on to Virgo. Virgo, obviously, they want to be seen. Virgo 6th house people. If you have Venus, the moon, 7th house in Virgo, or Venus or the moon in the 6th house, you like to be useful. You, especially to the people you love, you like to feel like you're helping them out. So find a creative way that they can help you. And this can be done, right? So you know how people make their shopping lists and they can maybe like order some curbside grocery delivery or have groceries delivered to their house. Virgo can make that food list for you. Virgo can do little tasks for you. And it's something so small, but it makes Virgo feel like they're a part of your life. And not only that, but it also makes them feel like they're useful, and they like to feel useful in the world, but when they're useful to the person that they love, that is what makes them happiest. So if they can either do little small tasks for you, help you, remind you about certain things you need to do, that is what is going to make them feel like they're connected to you. So don't deny them those opportunities. There are small things that like you could do yourself. Like, do you really need somebody to make you a grocery? No, you don't. You could do that yourself. But if they want to do it for you, just let them, because it's going to make them feel more connected to you. And that's essentially what you want to create when you're in a long distance situation. You want to make both people feel like they're connected. And that is the way that Virgo connects. Other thing that I think could be very fun when you're dating a Virgo long distance, Virgos are often, they're into either a hobby or they're into a particular sort of routine or a habit that they're building or that they're already used to, like collecting something, or they could be very into a specific diet or a specific form of exercise. If you could find one habit or one behavior that you guys can both do, that is going to be a really fun and simple way of connecting with each other, and something that you could like sort of check in with each other on. Like, oh, so how many books have you read? Or, oh, what page are you on? Obviously, like reading a book together would be very useful, but it doesn't have to be something so like commitment oriented. Like you don't have to, because Virgos can read a lot and you're like, Denise, I don't know if I could read that much. I get it. So maybe you don't do that, but maybe you have like a step goal. Like every day I'm going to walk 7,000 steps, and you check in with each other and see like, did you complete your steps today? Yes. Yes, you did. Yes, I did. And that is going to make you feel like you're connected on some level. Because remember that Virgo is an everyday sort of sign. And so they want to feel like they're involved in your everyday life and the little things that you do. And because you're not physically together to do those little things like go grocery shopping, clean your house, then they could remind you to do certain things, or they can make the little lists for you, etc., etc. So find creative ways of making them feel like they're involved in your everyday life and your routine. Maybe they can be the ones to wake you up in the morning, to give you a call whenever it's time for you to wake up. Think about like a nagging mom that is always, and I know like the mom is the moon, but Virgos are very like that mom friend. They are worried all the time about you. So give them a helpful way of worrying about you, and that could be a really useful way of connecting with your Virgo. For Libras do all right in long distance relationships, I would say, especially because it's an air sign. You need to make sure that you're keeping the romance alive. Like you need to send them songs, and you need to send them like cute movies, and everything that is like love oriented is going to make Libra happy. Also give them attention and praise. Libras live for attention and praise. They like to feel beautiful. And so let them know, even if it's a guy or a girl, they also like gifts and everything that is Venusian, everything that is beautiful and lovely and romance oriented is going to please a Libra. And that's like, it seems very simple on the surface, and Libra is not that difficult. It's really not that difficult, and it just depends on the other planets, because the Libra component of who they are isn't going to be the part that is going to get in the way of your long distance relationship, right? As opposed to like when I was talking about Aries, I was like, oh, they're so physical. How is it that you're going to like bridge that distance, right? With an Aries, you have to find a way. But for a Libra, Libras are also intellectual. So as long as you keep them intellectually stimulated in regards to the relationship and the romance that you guys are building, then the Libra is like, like, okay, I'm happy, I'm satisfied. They're in love with love. So as long as the love situation is still growing and they still see that love every single day, little sweet things that you could do for them will mean a lot to a Libra. Always be kind to them. They really value kindness, and yeah, just like, don't be a dick. Okay, so for Scorpios, I would say Scorpios sort of struggle with long distance relationships because they're also Mars ruled. They're Mars ruled, so they're also very physical, but it is like a fixed sign. So they have more patience when it comes to waiting in order to meet the person, or, you know, between visits with the person. So they have more stamina to like see the relationship through when you're long distance. And they're also built different than Aries. Aries doesn't want to struggle. Aries is just like, no, like if I'm not naturally good at something, I'm not going to struggle. And like if it doesn't vibe, if I don't like this person, I don't like them. But Scorpio is going to take their time investigating somebody and digging deeper and deeper and deeper into who the other person is. So this gives them a lot to do. And also, you know, as I said, the distance, it's hard for a Scorpio to really assess somebody at a distance because you can't really see them in their natural habitat. How I like to say, I like to see my prey in its natural habitat. And that's how you know the person, right? Because people create personas on the internet and you really don't know who that person is until you see them in their natural habitat, right? I like to see people out in the wild. My Venus is in Scorpio. That's why I say we, right? So a Scorpio, as a proper predator, they like to be up in the trees and looking down to see what's going on with all the little lambs. They want to look down and see all the little lambs and see what are they doing. And if they can't do that when you're on the internet, but they will still try to see, right? So they're going to try to, and God bless you if it's two Scorpios, because God bless you, because Scorpios tend to be very private on the internet. So they're not going to have a huge internet footprint. So there's not going to be much for you to consider. So you're not going to have a lot of material to look through, right? You're not going to have a lot of distance to travel in order to see what it is that person is doing online, but you're still going to try to, right? And so this is where it's kind of like a double-edged sword. So it depends who you're dating, right? If the other person is a very open, like Leo that has a presence on the internet, that's great. You could peruse, you could see the comments, you could see their old pictures, you could find their ex-boyfriend and see everything and be like, this looks okay, this is a green light, this is a red light, right? So that assessment process is very important for a Scorpio because they don't just approach anybody. They need to know that the person that they're approaching or that they're interested in is actually worthwhile, right? So they're very selective. And so if you are the person that is like, if your partner is the Scorpio, then they need to be able to dig into who you are. And at a distance, it's more difficult to do. So, I mean, let them ask you questions, and they're going to ask you questions because that is just how they operate, right? And so it's rough, in my opinion, in a long distance situation for a Scorpio person, because as I said, they cannot see in your natural habitat, and that is how they would feel most comfortable. Because how can you really know? The internet is a place that is fake by nature. By nature, it is fake. So good luck. God bless. Let them get to know you. Let them ask you 100 questions. No more than 100. That's what I professionally believe. Moving on to Sagittarius. Sagittarius online, like, God bless, because good luck. Sagittarius people, their love language is quality time. Sagittarius people are active. They like to be doing things. And if they cannot do things with you, then what the hell is going to happen, right? They really need to feel that physical presence because the fire signs are physical, and Sagittarius in particular is a very active, so is Aries, but Aries can be more independent. Like they could do their thing on their own, but Sagittarius loves sharing experiences with others of any kind of experience. Like if I'm eating a delicious cake, I want you to eat that delicious cake with me because it's going to make that experience even better for me. And if I cannot share that with you, that is absolutely tragic, right? So if you're a Sagittarius person, and you're at a distance, how is it that you're going to share that experience of the world and of your life with somebody else? Venus Sagittarius people, I've heard it over and over again from the Venus Sag people. I want somebody to do life with. And what do they mean by that? They mean that as they go on their adventures and as they learn and as they explore, they want to have a little buddy by their side to explore and learn and see those things with them. And if you cannot do that because you're at a distance, how can you artificially create that? And I don't mean artificially in a bad way. I just mean like, how can you carefully create that? Well, you can watch documentaries together. You can watch movies together and talk about them. You could read books together. You can talk about philosophical things together. As long as you are doing things that are expanding and engaging your mind. Sagittarius, I know it's a fire sign, but it's an intellectual fire sign. So stimulate their intellect. If you cannot like do things with them, then make sure that you are learning things with them and that you're discussing those things with them, because otherwise it's going to be very, very difficult for Sagittarius to remain in a long distance situation for very long. And another thing that could happen when you're with a Sagittarius person in a long distance situation is that Sagittarius people, as I said, they love to share experiences with the people that they're around. So if you're at a distance and you're competing with friends, best of luck to you, because whoever's around them is going to get their attention because they're very much involved in the moment. Sagittarius people are like physically wherever they are, that's what, like wherever you go, there you are. That is Sagittarius. Wherever they are, that's where they want to be. And so if you are like, if you're the long distance partner, that could be a little bit painful. It depends how independent you are. If you're an independent person too, and you like to do your own thing, it's going to be totally fine. But if you are if you have more need for that connection, it's going to be a little bit more difficult because Sag likes to be in the moment. And if they have friends that they're hanging out with or whatever it is that they're doing with other people, especially with other people, because as I said, Sagittarius loves to share in experiences with others. So if you're competing with somebody else, that's going to be difficult for you. So make sure that you guys are meeting up. And make sure that you're watching the documentaries, reading the books. What else did I say? Yeah, so for Sag, it's difficult to be long distance, but I could see why you met, because Sagittarius people love to explore the world. And, you know, if you happen to be in another part of the world, then I can see why you met. For Capricorn, I said that Capricorn likes to get the most bang for their buck. And sometimes when you date outside of like your surrounding area, you can get a better deal somewhere else. That's my opinion. And for Capricorn people, they like to make sure that they're going to be getting the best fish on the market, right? And so sometimes they got to go to foreign markets to get a better fish. And that can happen to Capricorns. And I could see, you know, why you're doing that. The long distance thing is not super wonderful for a Capricorn because Capricorns are not very expressive unless they have other things in their chart, like they have a lot of Gemini or they have third house things, or Gemini is the only thing that would help a Capricorn, because Capricorn likes to work and likes to be useful and make money and, you know, be responsible and achieve things. And that's about it. They really don't like to talk very much. So that they could be very focused on their work, and they are a serious partner. So this is very much like if you have a very Capricorn heavy person, they are relationship oriented because they see the value of marriage in particular. And, you know, when you're a team with somebody, that is a very useful thing in life. But when you're at a distance, this could be difficult. So if you're in a long distance relationship with a Capricorn and they're not talking to you about the future and you're not kind of planning things, then this is not a very good sign, because Capricorn, and I don't think a very heavily Capricorn person would do that, because why would they? Why would they be in a long distance relationship, right? They don't love talking. And so why is it that they would spend their time talking to you at a distance if they weren't serious? So that's something to think about. And the last thing that I'll say about Capricorn and online relationships is that make sure that you make the most of your time together, because Capricorn really values their time. So make sure that you're not just calling to call, that you're not wasting their time, because they really value it. So have that time away from each other, and then have time that you come together and you talk or you FaceTime or whatever it is, so that the time together is actually like worth their investment sort of thing, because that's just how Capricorn operates. Aquarius is another one of those signs that shines in long distance relationships. And let me tell you why. Aquarius loves being on the internet. They love being online. And that is where they feel that they could be their best selves and be most themselves, because Aquariuses tend to be more aloof and distant. And when they're on the internet, they tend to find groups of people that are like-minded. And so they feel more comfortable being themselves. And when you're yourself, you're more likely to attract somebody who likes you for who you actually are. So when you meet an Aquarius, like out in the wild, they can be more quiet and withdrawn because that is just their personality. They're more aloof. But when you meet them on the internet, you meet them like doing whatever weird thing it is that they're into, whatever niche, interesting thing they're into. And so that's when they're shining, especially when we're talking about an Aquarius sun. But even when you're talking about a Venus and it's a woman, or a seventh house Aquarius person, they are interested in an individual, right? So they like to be individuals themselves. And if you're meeting them online, that is where they feel most comfortable doing that. So the distance is not that huge of an issue for an Aquarius. It's an air sign. As long as you have intellectual things to discuss, as long as you're sharing quirky, interesting things with them that you find on the internet, they're going to enjoy that. They like having discussions about like important things that they consider important, right? So talk to them about those things. Conspiracy theories, aliens, anything like that is going to interest them. So have things to talk about. Usually it helps when you have a shared interest, so that the connection, because the intellectual component for all the air signs is very important. And for Aquarius, it's these high level sort of conversations that they like to have. So make sure that you have a connection that you can kind of exploit when it comes to the intellect, right, with an Aquarius, because outside of that, it's going to be difficult to connect with them. And lastly, the reason why Aquarius has such a good time when it comes to meeting people online is because Aquarius can be a little shy and it could be difficult to put themselves out there. But when you're on the internet, there's like a safe distance there, and you could really put yourself out there. And so it's a great time to be an Aquarius because people are meeting a lot online and establishing relationships, on the internet. So wonderful time to be an Aquarius and to be dating. Lastly, we have Pisces. Pisces is the other sign that shines in long distance relationships. Why? Because Pisces people need a lot of privacy and alone time. They need a lot of time to recharge and be mysterious and go off into outer space where they go. So when you're in a long distance relationship, you have a lot of time to yourself. And Pisces likes to show up as their best, most magical self. And they cannot do that if they're constantly with you. They get tired. They get drained by physical energy. So the long distance, if you're a Pisces person, a 12th house person, or heavily Neptune person, especially connected to your moon, your Venus, or your 7th house, then you really are going to enjoy a long distance relationship where when you show up for your person, you could be your best self. And you don't have to be exhausted. You don't have to be tired. So this is why Pisces people could really shine in long distance relationships. Also, Pisces people are very, very romantic, and they're very good at creating a romantic atmosphere. And if you enjoy romance, no one's going to give you more romance than a Pisces person in your long distance relationship. And also, but if you're the one dating the Pisces, I'll have you know, this is one of the emails that I got. I don't know if the lady remembers, but I remember. Sometimes, especially when you're talking about Mars, Neptune, this is the situation. I think the lady was a Mars, Neptune person. It's very difficult to pin them down because they could get frazzled. And if you don't solidify the relationship, sometimes you could be in a long distance situation for years and years and years into eternity until you're a ghost, right? And I don't think you want that, especially if you're like an earth sign person and you want a real thing. So make sure that if you're with a Pisces person, do reality checks. It's very important to have reality checks. And what do I mean by that? I think this needs to be an entirely different video, and I'm going to make an entire video about this too. What about Neptunian relationships and Pisces, Venus individuals? I remember your video, Pisces, Venus, and why it's a hard Venus. Hold on, it's coming. But it's very difficult because you can be in this heightened sort of romantic atmosphere in your relationship, and it's just taking place up here. It's just taking place in your head. And it's totally fine because especially if you're like, let's be real, if you're not like looking for anything serious, if you're just let's just say you're a very busy engineer and you have no time to actually date somebody, but you are a freaking romantic guy, then maybe you want to have just an online relationship with somebody that you could FaceTime with from time to time and talk on the phone and be super romantic with, and then you just go to work. And then the other lady, the woman or the man or whoever it is you're dating, maybe they're married or maybe they are super busy. They have a lot of kids. I'm not saying you should date when you're married. You probably shouldn't. It's not a good idea. But if you are, that's a very Pisces or 12th house situation, Neptune situation, because it's not very real. And real, when I say real, I mean like Virgo, the 6th house, day-to-day stuff, right? Practical stuff, earth stuff. But when you're in a relationship like this, then you have to make sure that you do these reality checks, especially if you're the non-Pisces person. So what I mean by this is figure out, like, set a date for when you're going to meet. When are we going to meet in person? Because I will not get tired of saying this story, but I knew this lady who is a Pisces, and she was in a relationship with this man for 10 years, and it was long distance. It started at regular distance, and then it became long distance, and they were together for 10 years, and she didn't know that he was married to somebody else. And I'm like, how did you not know? I don't understand. But then I got to know her, and I was like, I get it. She didn't know. She really didn't know. And she was with him, waiting for him for 10 years. 10 years. That's a long ass time. Her entire, from 20 to 30, she waited for this man. Or no, I met her like past 30. She was like 35 or something. But for 10 years, she waited for this man. And, then they broke up and she got into a similar situation. Do these reality checks, even if you're the Pisces or the non-Pisces person. And what I mean by reality is, when is this relationship going to be real in the 3D plane? When are you going to be physically together? You need to have plans for that and have a checklist as to when these things are happening. Because if they're not happening, then I'm not saying you should break up. You don't have to break up. Who am I to tell you what to do? No one has to tell you what to do. You know what you want to do, but I want you to be consciously making these choices. I don't want you to fall into these situations with people and have no control because you have no idea what the hell's going on. With Pisces people, sometimes it's like the blind leading the blind. I always joke about this with my friends. I put this meme of the 3 blind mice. Don't be a blind mouse. Don't be a blind mouse. Take those glasses off. Take those rose-colored glasses off and be very real and concrete about what exactly is going on. And if you're comfortable with things just staying online and just being super romantic, hey bro, there's so many novels written about that. There's so much poetry, so many songs written about love that was never real in the 3D. And that's okay, right? All love is valid. And I just want you to know what you have. I don't want you to be surprised. I don't want you to later on be bitter about hey, this person said we were going to be together and then we never were. I don't want that to happen to you. No. I want you to be super conscious about the choices that you're making and the way that you're living your life. As long as you're living it consciously and and you're aware and you've done your reality check, you're like, you know what? This guy's never going to meet me. It's fine. I'm totally fine with it. As long as you're fine with it, you and me, we're good. So until the next time, my friends, I hope you liked the video. If you did, make sure you give me a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to my channel. I put out videos every single week. I missed a few weeks because I was in the hole, but I'm back, baby. I'm back. I'm out of the hole. And guys, my hole is that I have my 16-year-old dog, Betsy. She's a Scorpio. Please have some respect for her. She's 114 in dog years. Betsy's really old now, and I take care of her. And every single day, I feel like I have to go check on her to make sure she's still alive. And it takes a lot out of me to care for her because, let's be real, she's like a granny, and she makes a mess, guys. She's like a little hamster, except she's a dog. And so I'm cleaning a lot. And I'm crying sometimes, and, your girl's getting older, I got some aches and pains now. So it has been more difficult to get going with the videos, but I'm hoping that this video, motivates me. Motivates me to start making more. So if you have any topics that you'd like for me to address, if you haven't asked me a question at my question box on my website, make sure you go over there. And okay, bye. Now for real, I'll see you in the next video.